Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called The Old House in the Woods. One dark and stormy night, a man named Jim Avery was heading home after a night of drinking with his friends. "All right," he told his friends. "I'll see you guys tomorrow." "Don't forget you owe me a drink," Jim told one of his friends. "Whatever you say, Jim," his friend replied. "You just make sure you make it home this time." Jim had a problem of getting drunk and passing out pretty much anywhere. Jim would wake up in the park, or jail, and even the back of someone's car once. "I know," Jim said. "I don't want to hear another one of Linda's lectures again, that's for sure," Jim told his friend, laughing. As Jim began walking home, he thought to himself, "I can probably take the shortcut home. It would cut off half the time he had to walk home, even though it would be through the woods." So Jim made his way to the edge of the forest and proceeded to head in. He was walking singing all his favorite songs. About 10 minutes into his walk, Jim caught himself wanting to pass out. "Oh no, not again," he thought. "I gotta make it home this time or my wife will kill me." As he began walking down the path, he could notice something in the distance. It was an old house. "I never seen that before," he thought to himself. As he looked, he could see an old lady sitting on the porch. She was rocking back and forth on an old-looking rocking chair. "Hello," Jim said to the old lady. "Hello dear, how are you?" Jim struck up a conversation with the old lady. And just then the rain began to come down even harder. "Well, I can't let you walk home in this," the old lady told Jim. "You'll catch a cold." Come in," the old lady said. "I just finished dinner and have plenty left over. I also got a nice warm couch you can sleep on tonight." Jim thought to himself, "My wife would be mad at me, but I don't want to pass out in all this rain and risk being struck by lightning." So Jim took the old lady up on her offer. "Yeah, that would be great," he told the old lady. "All right, come in," she said, smiling. When Jim got inside, the old lady made him a plate of spaghetti. And Jim was so hungry he had seconds. "Thank you," he told the old lady. The food was delicious. She then showed Jim to the couch he would be sleeping on and gave Jim a big soft quilted cover. "You have a good night," said the old lady. "If you're still around in the morning, I'll make breakfast for the both of us." "Okay, thank you," Jim told the old lady. Then the old lady proceeded to go upstairs as Jim began to fall asleep. Sometime in the middle of the night, Jim woke up to screams. He jumped off the couch. What was that, he thought to himself. Jim proceeded to walk to the edge of the stairs. He started to call the old lady's name to see if she was all right. But just then he remembered something. The old lady never told him her name. Excuse me, miss," Jim said in a worried voice. "Is everything all right up there?" Just then he heard two loud bangs. Jim almost jumped out of his skin after hearing the sound. That sounded like a shotgun, he thought to himself. Just then he heard the door swing open. It sounded like something was being dragged down the hall. As the noise got closer to the steps, Jim ran back to the couch and threw the covers over his head. Then he could hear something being dragged down the stairs, hitting each step as it went. All he could hear was, bump, 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 bump. Jim poked his head out to see what he could see, still pretending to be asleep. "I don't see anything," he thought. But he could still hear something being dragged across the floor. As he watched and waited for something or someone to appear, he noticed the basement doors swung open with so much force that the door looked like it almost was ripped off its hinges. But nothing was there. "What's going on?" Jim thought to himself. "What is this old lady up to?" He couldn't help but think. Then you heard the sound again, like something being dragged down the stairs. Bump, 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 he heard. By this time Jim was so scared. He felt like his heart could jump right out of his chest. Just then he heard a chainsaw starting up. And a lady began to scream. "No, I didn't do it. Please, let me go. No, please no." Jim was so scared. He jumped off the couch, put on his shoes, and ran out the door. Jim was so scared. He ran all the way home in the middle of the night. When he got home, he burst open the door, took off his shoes, and jumped in the bed with his wife. Soon he managed to fall asleep, trying to forget about the situation. The next morning Jim woke up and thought to himself, maybe I should go check on the old house in the woods and see if that old lady is all right. So Jim made him some breakfast and then set back down the path in the forest. After about 20 minutes of walking, Jim came across what he thought was the old house in the woods that he had been at the night before. But the only thing he saw was an old burned-down house. How can that be? Jim thought to himself. I was just here last night. As Jim began making his way to the porch, he noticed something. The rocking chair that the lady had been sitting on before was still on the porch, and it was still slowly rocking back and forth. As Jim began to make his way inside of the old rundown house, he noticed the couch was there, and it still had the large quilted cover draping over it. What's going on here? Jim thought to himself, as he made his way to the kitchen where the basement door was located. He seen a plate was still sitting on the table. As he got a better look, he could see the plate was full of dirt and worms. As he was looking around in disbelief, he heard a noise coming from the basement of this old burned-down house. And it sounded like bump, 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 bump. Jim took off out the front door and ran down the path. As he looked over his shoulder, back at the old burned-down house, he could see the old lady. She was sitting on the porch, in her rocking chair, rocking back and forth. When Jim made eye contact with the old lady sitting on the porch, she just smiled and winked at him.